My name is Staff Sergeant Nicholas Kelly, United States Marine Corps retired. I was born and raised right here in Tarpon Springs, Florida, at Tarpon Springs General at Helen Ellis Hospital. Born June 16, 1968. I local resident here all my life. Father owned a local auto shop. Mother was a local banker, worked for the first bank in town, which was Ellis Bank. They worked here all their lives. I went through all the Tarpon schools and then joined the Marine Corps July 21st, 1987. And I served a total of 20 years, 10 days. Retired at the rank of Staff Sergeant. And what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about my family history since we've been here local residents. First, there was my grandfather. To have one photograph of him. He served in World War II. His name was Orby Lee Kelly. He served in World War II. He lost his life. He died, received the Silver Star and the Purple Heart posthumously. He died in Tunisia, Africa, fighting. He was down there fighting the Germans with Rommel. I have with me as I said, he was awarded the Silver Star and the Purple Heart posthumously. You'll also find his name listed on the War Memorial at the Tarpon Springs Greek Orthodox Church, as well as the War Memorial downtown at the Spring Bayou. He died in, I'm not even sure the day, 1942. They said he served, he was in the service. He first joined the, I guess they called it the Civilian Consideration Corps under President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, where they trained him to be a skilled mechanic. Later joined an artillery battery. I also have the actual presidential certificate. If you can see that, from President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, commemorating the service that he gave, which was sent to my grandmother.
And that he gave his life.
That he gave his life. Right. And it reads, in grateful memory of Private First Class Orby L. Kelly, who died in service of his country in North Africa, April 4th, 1943. He stands in the unbroken line of patriots who have dared to die that freedom might live and grow and increase its blessings. Freedom lives, and throughout it he lives, in a way that humbles the undertakings of most men. Franklin D. Roosevelt, President of the United States.
Very impressive.
My father was unable to serve in the service as he had polio as a small child and wore braces on his legs, so the service actually wouldn't take him. He tried to enlist during the Vietnam era. His younger brother, my Uncle Bob, who was approximately 2 years younger than my father, served a total of 12 years in the United States Navy. We lost him about 14 years ago due to mesothelioma. He served a total of 12 years. It was a boiler technician in the Navy and later contracted asbestos cancer due to his service. So like I said, it's been about 14, 15 years ago we lost Uncle Bob. And then you have myself. As I said, I served 20 years, 10 days, United States Marine Corps. Served honorably and faithfully. I've traveled all over the world and all over this country. And I've always been proud to serve, and every member of my family has been proud to serve. And soon here, my youngest daughter is looking up joining the United States Air Force. So if that happens, we'll have had my grandfather in the Army, my uncle in the Navy, a bit of Marine, and now we'll have one in the Air Force. So
You just need the Merchant Marine.
that's right, or the Coast Guard. We'll take that. Either way, my family's always believed in service to this country, and this country's been wonderful to us. My grandfather comes from immigrants coming straight from Ireland, and eventually ended up settling in the Ozona area where they were fruit pickers. My grandmother's side of the family were immigrants from Hungary. And they eventually, the Tarpon Springs is where they met, got married, had 2 sons before my grandfather passed on.
Well, I see you have a lot of medals.
Well, I've got a
Explain
couple.
those. Yeah.
You kind of collect those when you spend some time in the service.
Hey, explain those.
Okay. Well, start over here. First one I have is the Navy Achievement Medal. Basically, that's for going above and beyond, would normally be expected to someone, so they commemorate that. I have a total of, I have the medal which represents 1, and each star represents a consecutive award, so I have a total of 4. After that one, I have the Good Conduct Medal with a gold star in lieu of 5th award. So you basically get one every 3 years of your service as long as you stay out of trouble.
And that's probably the most
You're
difficult
not a troublemaker. You do your job and you get it done.
Probably the most difficult medal to get.
No, not really. It's not that hard to stay out of trouble. It's harder to get yourself out of it once you're in. But when you're surrounded by Marines, you don't have to worry about that. They always
That's true.
they always look after you. They're like big brothers. They don't let you get into trouble.
That's good.
Next one I have behind there is the
Expeditionary.
right here is the National Defense Medal.
Called expedition.
The first award was awarded during the period of a Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, where at the time I was deployed down in Liberia, Africa. I spent 4.5 months at the American Embassy down there in Africa, where we evacuated just over 2,700 citizens, and we secured the embassy for a total of 4.5 months during the civil unrest that became while you had a gentleman named Taylor who was fighting for control of the country over Charles Doe, and there was a civil war down there. They called in the United States Marines. They had brief history if you don't know. The town was called Monrovia. The town of Monrovia is actually named after President James Monroe. As Lincoln freed the slaves, James Monroe had the United States purchase land in Africa for all the descendants of American slaves who wanted to return to their native homeland. So they in turn named the town after him, Monrovia. Well, in retrospect, all the returned slaves were American citizens. That made all of their descendants, the children born from them, are American citizens born abroad of this country. During the Civil War in Africa, one of the factions, as they operate mainly in tribes, one of the factions went into a church during a Sunday service and executed about 200 people, 50 of which were American citizens. Therefore, the President of the United States called the Marines into action. We were out aboard naval vessels doing 6-month med floats, and we came into the American Embassy, secured the compound, secured the area, and then began evacuations for all American citizens who wanted to be removed from the war zone. And we were basically doing at least 2 to 3 evacuations per week, and we would bring people in, search them, check their documentation, and then get them and provide safe passage out of the war zone. The second award was for the 8 months I spent in Iraq in 2000. I got to think about it. 2003 or 2001. I'm sorry. No,
Oh,
I got to. Well, it's been a while.
yeah.
It's been a while.
It gets
I had
worse.
to think about it. Yeah. Wow. Actually, it was 2002, I do believe. But I spent a total of 8 months in Iraq during Operation Enduring Freedom. I deployed with Marine Wing Support Group 371 out of Yuma, Arizona. I was an electrician. Is basically what my job was in the Marine Corps. We ran all the power, generator. I worked in a platoon called utilities, meaning we covered everything from field showers, field laundry. We had the refrigeration, we had the generators, we set up all the power, supplied power for everything. And a lot of those areas included the flight lines where you had planes. I keep forgetting, so I talk to you, the camera. So the star actually denotes the second time serving during second period the National Defense Medal was awarded. Prior to Desert Shield, Desert Storm, the last time the medal was awarded was during Vietnam. After that one, I have the Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal. This was for my service, meaning you actually had to deploy with an expeditionary force on a foreign shore to be awarded the medal. It's for serving during the War on Terrorism. Behind that is the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. This was awarded to all service personnel that were in the service during the War on Terrorism that did not deploy. If they deployed, they received the Expeditionary Medal. If they just remained on the state side but were still in the service, they received the Service Medal. And then the one after it, I had the Humanitarian Service Medal, which was awarded during my period in Africa, where, as I said, we helped remove a lot of American citizens from the war-torn country. And on the other side, I have some awards that don't translate in the middles. Kind of hard to see, like the top one. It's my Combat Action Ribbon, which I was awarded down in Africa. Because unfortunately, though, while down there, you had a lot of, like I said, it was tribes, if you will, untrained military soldiers that were just firing rounds just maliciously. You know, so you never knew what to expect. You always had to be on your toes. You never knew what might come at you. And the Presidential Unit Citation, which was awarded for my operations down in Africa. Gotta take a look. The Meritorious Unit Commendation also was awarded while I was in Africa. You know, the Global War, this is the Marine Corps Expeditionary Medal. I'm actually missing that medal on this side. I have the ribbon, but it's also medal, which means you made a foreign landing on a hostile shore, which occurred while we were in Africa as well. I think everything else we've earned, besides my Sea Service Deployment Medal, I have a total of 6 awards. I've spent 1 year on the island of Okinawa. I have a total of 1 year on mainland Japan at the Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni. I did a 3-year family tour back on the island of Okinawa. I've deployed countries around the world. I've been to Turkey, Egypt, Spain, France, Italy, Portugal, Africa. I've been to the Canary Islands. Let's see, I think I named Spain, a lot of places. It's hard to remember them all. I've been to Israel. Most of the times we would do tours aboard the Navy ship out of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. We would board naval vessels to do 6-month tours, med floats as we called them. But we would basically travel around the world, in need of our country's call.
What do you think really induced you to become a Marine?
The service or becoming a Marine?
Well, both, either.
Well, having a family history of service, I think the call came pretty quickly. As I said, most of the men in my family before me have served, so I've always thought good things about this service. Growing up in Tarpon, at the time, I just felt there weren't a lot of opportunities available to me, and I saw that the service would be a good opportunity for me to really get out there and see the world and do not only good for myself but for my country. As far as actually being a Marine, I can actually thank the United States Army recruiter for that. I took the ASVAB in high school, and of course the United States Army came calling, so I set up an appointment with the recruiter and went up to see him. Well, when I got up there, apparently he had overbooked his time and was busy with someone else, so had me sit in the back room for about an hour and a half watching VHS tapes. So by the time he was finally ready for me, I had to go. It was time to go to work. I worked at the local Winn-Dixie here in town for 3.5 years during that period. So by the time he wanted to talk to me, I told him, I'm out of time. We'll have to schedule another time. He got upset with me, and I got upset with him, and one thing led to another, and I was on my way out the door with not in the greatest of moods. Well, I got almost to my car, and all of a sudden I just heard this, "Hey!" And I look up, and there's this finger point. Come here. Here's this 6'3" United States Marine standing outside the door. First thing he looked at me, he said, "What was that all about?" I was like, "Well, and I told him my story." So he looked at me, he's like, "So you're thinking about the service?" I said, "Absolutely." He's like, "Well, how come you haven't come talk to the Marines yet?" I said, "Well, I don't know, because the Army called me first." He's like, well, why don't you come in here and talk to me? And I told him, "Hey, look, I'm already late. I got to get to work." And you know what he said to me? "You're late, right?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Is 2 more minutes going to kill you?" I said, "No." He's like, "All right, you come in here, you give me your name and phone number, give me 2 minutes, and I'll have you out the door. You have my word." And sure enough, a minute and a half later, I was on my way to work, and he had my information. He called me the next week, and I went up to see him, and just standing there with an individual that projected himself with such power and discipline, and I realized it was something I wanted for myself and for my life. It was a very empowering thing, and I'll never forget Sergeant Vernon L. Green. He was a very, 6'4" African-American gentleman, about 240 pounds. He was no slouch. Somewhere around 8% body fat. And he looked like all that in a bag of chips, and I knew I was like, that's for me. So, and needless to say, the rest was history real quick.
Where did you go through basic training?
Parris Island, South Carolina.
What was your first impression of basic training?
It was hot. It was hot. I arrived there July 21st, 1987. We arrived at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was 87 degrees outside. We all thought we just walked into hell. The next day, the temperature got up to 103 degrees.
Wow.
And this was your first day. So we felt pretty lucky. We got to spend like our first week in somewhat air-conditioned, half the time was in air-conditioned barracks until you moved into squad base.
Yeah. During your service as a Marine, what was your most memorable experience, would you say?
It was definitely during the 8 months I spent in Iraq. There was one particular day where I was up at one of our forward operating bases checking on my junior Marines, because by that time I was already staff sergeant, and we had about 3 groups of 4 to 5 junior Marines that were in forward operating areas. basically, keeping the generators running for planes, and also mechanics, keeping the equipment running for the guys that were on the ground. While on one of our transports on our way there, we came across a man, you know, on the side of the road, and just he was just sitting on his knees, and we ended up giving the guy. We felt bad for him. You could tell he was really thirsty and dehydrated. We gave him a case of food and a case of water, something that we didn't. We knew we'd have to cut back a little bit on our supply, but we felt pretty bad for the gentleman, and it was pretty powerful when he started crying. And though he couldn't speak any English, you could just tell, and he started pulling out pictures, showing us pictures of his wife and his 2 children, and to realize that, these were people just trying to figure out how to get a basic substance to survive. And we had, when you live in a country that you've got a McDonald's open 24 hours down the road, 7 days a week, it's pretty difficult until you've been there, done that, to actually see what these people live with and have to deal with on a daily basis, just for a basic substance. It makes you feel pretty lucky to be American.
What's your thoughts about the people you served with?
Nothing but good thoughts. Most of them were, like older brothers, some younger brothers, and sisters. It's unique in a way that it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter whether you're tall, you're short. Marines aren't fat, so we never had that problem. But if you got a little too much weight on, they would take care of that. But no matter what, they always cared about you. And it didn't matter what they thought of you personally. Just the fact that you wore the same uniform and you held the same title, it made them care about you, and you felt safe. Even here, being a family man with a wife and children, I felt safer when we lived on base. My children could roam the neighborhood freely, and if they acted out, you could bet that somebody's mom, another Marine's mom, was going to be out there and correct them. You didn't have to worry like you do out here. And anyone coming on the base, if you didn't have an ID card, they didn't know who you are. You weren't coming on without getting a full search. They were going to search your vehicle, search your person. You didn't have to worry about people having these concealed weapons or drugs. The things that I worry most about, my children being out here in this environment today.
So you're familiar with the term, "I've got your 6."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I became an Elk here, too. I retired in 2007. I joined the Elks Club in November of that year. And I became an officer immediately. I've been an officer, been a member 5.5 years, and I've been an officer for 5. So it's just, for me, service is an easy thing, and I appreciate the people that I meet. And there's a lot of good men and women here as Elks that have served.
Are you a member of any other veterans organizations now?
I'm a lifetime member of the VFW. We used to have a post here in Tarpon, and they closed that up. So then they gave us new cards for the post in Holiday. Well, they've closed that one up. So now I guess the closest one, I think, is in Newport Richie.
What?
VFW?
No.
Is it Holiday?
It's still
Holiday. Okay, is it still Holiday?
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, they gave me a card for Palm Harbor. There used to be a post in Palm Harbor.
They used to have been Palm Harbor.
And then they
I used to
closed
go-
that
I used
one
to
up.
go to it a lot, but it's
Right.
closed down.
Right, and now they've got the one in Holiday. So, but between working full-time job, wife and 2 children, and being an officer here at the Elks Club, it keeps me pretty busy.
Where do you work now?
Achieva Credit Union. I do maintenance for Achieva Credit Union. Great place.
That's great.
Used to be Pinellas County Teachers Credit Union.
Sure.
And you were evidently married while you were in the service?
Yes, 16 years of my 20 were married.
How do you think your service and being away from home affected your family? How did they handle it?
It's tough at times, but just like you have that, that camaraderie as Marines, we also have that among the spouses and the families. The wives form tight bonds, just like the service guys do. And they help each other cope. They help each other get along. They support one another, and as well as your units, all services. From when I first came in to closer to the time when I retired, did my last deployment to Iraq. A lot of the services have stepped up their family support groups there through their units to keep the spouses well informed. And my children have always been proud of what their father does. And I think in some small part that's helped them endure, knowing that Dad's out there doing a good thing.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, and and I can appreciate.
We won't hold that against you.
I can appreciate
No, you
what
guys
being
are
a Marine means.
brothers in arms.
What, you know, the Marine Corps finally accepted that fact. We're Department of the Navy,
Right.
the men's department. Oh, you know, I had to get you on that one.
Okay, this interview's over. But, well, we do appreciate your service.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate your story, and is there anything else you'd like to add?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I think we've covered it all, and and I'm happy to support this great man right here, Mr. Mike Bilirakis, and his wonderful son Gus, great congressman, and I know that my family, even Gus himself, his office helped my stepfather, who is a Vietnam veteran. He's currently in Michigan right now, but helped him get some of his, paperwork in order, and so the VA is really, and I know that. Not that it wouldn't have happened, but there was some cross-contamination between some service agencies, and next thing you know, you get the political red tape, and all I know is that we went and saw Gus, and 3 months later, it was straightened out. So, you can bet Gus has always got my vote,
Thank you.
because Gus is for us. Absolutely.
Anything you'd like to ask? Mike?
No, just something, I'm gonna add your gratitude to Nick and to his family, and, a lot of people, we just don't give proper credit to the families, because it's really worse on the family than it is on the guy or girl who's in the military. It's
Absolutely.
much worse on them, and we never really give them proper recognition, and we should. Welcome back to your hometown.
Absolutely, Mike, and thank you.
We're
Yeah.
proud of
It's a pleasure knowing people like you and your son, and some of the great other people that I've met here at the Elks Club. We have a lot of former service guys in here. But I would definitely say that based off the time when I first came into the way it is now, that all the services across the board have really stepped up their family support and understanding how to support the spouses and their children while the men are away, because I think sometimes for me it was easy because that's my job. I'm a Marine. That's what we do.
Right.
And it can be difficult to see what they have to deal with when you're not there. But I know that my wife always stepped up to the plate and kept our household, and kept everything going. And I have 2 wonderful daughters that I couldn't be more than proud of. And I know I have my wife to thank for that. It's always been the joke. If you think it's tough being a Marine, try being a Marine's wife
Yeah.
and dealing with me.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And you covered your grandfather and your.
I did.